Good evening, everyone. Welcome into another edition of the Motorsports Almanac. We have a very, very special guest, or two guests joining us tonight. Mr. Carl Smith, driver of the Night Moves, and Mr. Tony Weber, a driver in his own right, but also was a crew chief for Mr. Carl Smith back in the days of the Pro Stock. Guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. This is going to be a lot of fun for us young guys. And thanks for taking time out of your night to join us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Shane.
Yes, sir. Wyatt, this is probably an interview I don't think either one of us thought that we would ever get a chance to do.
No, and I think for the record, I can state this mid-3 that we're going to be talking about what I consider the golden age of pro stock.
Yeah. Whenever I was brought up to some of my family and some other friends, I said, who is your favorite pro stock driver from whenever you were a kid? And almost immediately, without thinking, they said Mr. Carl Smith with the Night Moves. So now, and not only just like iconic name in pro stock, but one of the most iconic names when it comes to the red pro stocks whenever it came to beating all those big block deers. But Mr. Smith, I'll be honest with you, I didn't get a chance to see you a lot whenever you're on the end of your pulling career there. So kind of tell us how you got started into pulling in the first place. I understand there was a tractor before the Night Moves tractor came around.
Yes, I had I don't make a long story at all, but I had a 1206 tractor I had bought as a 2-year-old tractor out of Illinois. And it had our Illinois turbo and a little setup, and I kind of thought I had something special. So anyway, we got kind of playing around with it. It was my farm tractor, but I put a Roostmaster 45 pump head, picked up more fuel, changed injectors in it some, and I'd pull it and then go back to farm. So not the smartest thing I could have done probably as a young man, but that's the way I kind of started that. And then to follow up, I thought, well, that's my farm tractor. I went to Stylesville Implement and bought off a dead row a 1206. And we built that into basically a pulling tractor. We pulled for a few years, run local. Got invited to Louisville twice. Didn't do that well, a little disappointed. Just things didn't work quite like I'd like. But anyway, that's where I started. And then was Bill Voorhees tractor. I was going to try to update to get more competitive. And so that's the way I got started.
Oh, wow. So now, Mr. Tony, you and I know each other because you've worked with my brother some. And then obviously Tori Phillips is your daughter. So the Phillips family connection there as well. But how did you and Mr. Carl Smith kind of meet and you became the crew chief for him?
Well, I was more or less behind the scenes more than a crew chief, but yeah, I tried to help Carl all I could. And I want to say that it was an honor just to be in the same, category with him, to be able to help him and to be, have the knowledge to help him. And that was just a privilege to be there in that same sentence that we're in here. Cause that was one of the highlights of my life, is to be with Carl on his tractor and family. And it's pretty special. I worked for Case IH when I got out of college for almost 8 years, and I got laid off because I was the youngest one on the totem pole. But with that being said, I always went to tractor pulls ever since I could walk. Just always been around them, been around people that are involved with them. And I just went up to Carl, and I believe it was at Marion County Fairgrounds. I just went up to him and introduced myself and told him what I did, and that was kind of left at that. And with that being said, when I got laid off from the Case IH dealership, I went out on my own working on farm equipment, tractors, mainly International Harvester. And I started my own shop working on the International Harvester tractors. That's all I knew how to do. And I worked for Carl on his farm tractors. And I recall him having a couple, I think 2 1586s that we seemed like we had trouble with all the time. And he to this day, he still has a 1206, 856 that we help him along with to this day. And so I was at my shop, and this is before cell phones. So this is how far this goes back. Okay, this is before cell phones, and I had my answering machine hooked up in my shop, and I had a message on my answering machine, and it was Carl. And he said on the answering machine, he said, "Tony, this is Carl. I got a tractor for you to work on. Give me a call." So I called Carl, and this would have been somewhere around the 95 area, 1995-ish. He calls me up and said he had a tractor for me to work on. So I returned his call, and he says, "Yeah, the tractor I got for you to work on is my pulling tractor." And my mouth about hit the ground. So it was pretty special to have that, to start that, relationship with him, to help him work on that too.
That's awesome. I'm getting some reverb somewhere. I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. But going back to that, what you said, Mr. Smith, you had I think it was called Master Blaster, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So how did you come up with that name? That's a unique name for it.
I need my wife, Chris, to explain that. She's in the other room, I think, but I don't know how she really come up with it. And, wife and I, we've been married 61 years. So, I give and take both ways here. So I guess I gave into the Master Blaster, but it was she could tell you what song or something, but that's where she come up with it. So I says, okay.
That's awesome.
We had a lot of fun with that tractor.
So how did you come into the tractor of Bill Voorhees that became the iconic night moves?
Well, just Bill was, obviously campaigning, the tractor, and I don't know how it come about, but anyway, I know us pullers, Hoosier State stuff, he'd show up and kind of put us in our place. We'd all talk about, somebody say, "Well, Bill would sell that tractor." So we said we ought to all go together, buy it, and just send it to the junkyard. But that was just kind of tractor puller talk among ourselves, I guess, laughing. But anyway, that's just, I was wanting to update the old Master Blaster. We was kind of limited on cubic inch, and I was kind of enjoying the pulling, and thought, maybe go that way. And of course, I'd been pricing some stuff as far as trying to update, and just Bill said he would sell it. And we got together on price, and it was down in pieces at the time, but he put it back together. And I took it to Louisville, and I had the Master Blaster. Both ran at the same time down there. And so that was my first time on it, was there at Louisville. And I made a little mistake. I ended up third. But anyway, I was tickled to death, I guess, just in a pull off, and let it drift a little too far to right on me. But anyway, so that's the way we got started with Bill's tractor.
Yeah, and so you were talking about the Hoosier State level of things, and you guys had a whole bunch of pro stocks back then. You don't see as many of them on the HSTPA now. Who were just some of the names that you would run against on a week in and week out basis there?
Names, Don and Kevin Masterson ran a lot of Hoosier State at that time, and Dale Lowe from there at Greensburg with a case. And he encouraged me to, still when we was running a 1206, he'd kind of be taken by, he'd haul me at a pull sometimes, just, friendly and neighborly, whatever you want to call it. I was trying to think who else. Of course, the Mastersons, Tom Sherrill. He ran the Hoosier State stuff.
Rowdy Bush.
Rowdy Bush with the Massey. Tony can help me here.
The Razzmatazz, Greg Rasnick was always trying his best to keep up too. Greg Rasnick.
Yes.
So that thing was a pro stock even back then.
Yes.
I didn't know that, because I think it runs as a light pro now, doesn't it, Wyatt?
Yeah, it's currently as a light pro for sale. I can't remember, is it, Indiana or Ohio? It's still out in that region.
Mm-hmm. Sure
Yeah.
is.
Still called the same.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I always enjoyed the name of that one. I think I saw it run at Bowling Green once or twice.
Um, but yeah, like Tim Palmer ran too, if I remember right. Tim and Michael was young then. Palmer, he ran on Hoosier State. Les
Yes, they
Sweeney,
did. Yeah,
Les
Les
Sweeney,
Sweeney.
yeah, the Renegade. Uh, Pretty cool story on that one. I'm going to talk to Carl there a minute about that because I don't know if he realized it, but the Renegade was owned obviously by Leslie, and then it went to somebody in up around Rushville, and it sat in a barn for years. And Chris Genninger ended up getting that thing bought back, which that was originally built by Chris's dad, Gary. And Chris got that bought back, and they got that back out as the Renegade Hot Farm. You probably,
I wasn't familiar with that.
yeah, they got it.
That.
Yep, got it back out and started running it, and here it ended up getting back to the Genninger family, Chris and Craig, and yeah, they running that now as a hot farm, as the that still has the original sheet metal on it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes, another name just come to mind. The Bach brothers ran back when I first started here, kind of Hoosier State stuff.
Had Dallas Chalmers,
Dallas Chalmers, yes, and Dave Best from
Dave Best. Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
There's
there
some
was
boys,
some good running tractors back then, in Indiana.
Then Petersons had a case 1175. I don't know their first names, but there was two brothers, the Petersons. It was a black and orange case. I forget. You were up around Valparaiso, I thought.
Yes, that's where they were from, and they were good guys.
Yep, real good. Tim Obermeyer ran some too, I thought.
Yeah, you're helping us, Tony. Yes, Tim ran some.
Yeah, Tim Obermeyer. It's pretty cool because there's a lot of guys that have kept it going. Tim Kane, they ran some. I'm not sure when Chris came into it, but Tim. And here they are still pulling, still going at it.
So,
oh yeah, they are for sure.
Indiana's been a hotbed for pro stocks back then and even now. I mean, obviously not some of the same names as you hear from before. Obviously, Tim Kane, I'm still going. Mastersons are still at the top of their game. But there's a lot of other ones. Boyd's come into play back early 2000s. They just got of it not too long ago. Wishmeyers, Yoder up there in Pennsylvania, or up top in Indiana. It's always been a hotbed.
Yeah. Yeah, I miss those. Those were the good old days.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and like I said at the beginning of the show too, it's kind of like the golden age of pro stock, because when you guys are naming off names before, the brand differential was 10 times what it is now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was sitting here thinking whenever you said that.
Another name come to mind, Kent Payne. Still running today, Super Stock Diesel.
He had a pro.
He ran a pro, yes.
Yes. Huh. Yeah, he ran a pro. Yep.
I never knew that.
Was it the same name as his first Diesel Super? Or what was the name behind it?
I don't know.
Different strokes. I don't know what he's calling. Something was different strokes of Kent's. But
wow, I didn't realize he was in the single charger class at one point.
Yes.
So with you guys kind of taking a step back and looking at how the technology has developed now compared to what you guys were doing then, how big of a difference is it truly, and where has the most technology been improved from in y'all's perspective?
Wow. That's the only word I know of. Wow. Go ahead, Carl. Go ahead, Carl.
I'll say I keep up with pulling some, but I stayed away from it once I sold the tractor. That itch is hard to get rid of. That desire to be competitive and go. But I think part of it. Lost my line of thought there. What I was going to say, I thought I had something mounted something, but Just the technology has changed so, and I don't keep up. But they're building more than twice as much power, I think, since when I got rid of my tractor. And I'd like to climb on one today. I'd say that. I think I could handle it. Everybody stay out of the way. But anyway, it's just amazing.
I think
To
we
watch
maybe
those.
can arrange that.
Yeah, I think we can find somebody that would willingly let you drive their
Oh.
prostock.
Yeah.
Just saying.
What I was always impressed with, like I was saying, telling you, Shane, there last night, Carl's engine, with talking about technology. Carl, I'm sure of this, Carl. I'm sure I'm saying this right. So you correct me if I'm not. But Carl's engine was never on a dyno. Never on a dyno.
No, it never was. No.
Never was on a dyno. And that's how, everything, was just when, the parts, then you buy them and you just bolt them on and they worked. And that, again, that was giving credit to Hypermax Engineering. They just knew their stuff back then, and they were the ones, the go-to people that done, you can look at the, Danny Dean and Carl, and they had Hypermax, and it just worked. And technology caught up, Riverside Engineering and whoever, they caught up too, obviously. And I don't know everything by no means, but the mid 90s, again, you guys correct me on this, but the dyno started coming into effect, and more people started reaching out and going to the dyno. And the more you play on a dyno, the more power you can find. Else, you're going to wreck a lot of parts. But you're going to find power. And these people that keep determining that, as they find power through fuel and injection and water and cubic inches, they're going to find more power, and they're going to wreck more parts to get there. But they just kept climbing the ladder until they got up, where we are today. The turbo technology is probably the top game.
Yeah,
along with the rest of the combination, obviously, but the turbo technology is just unreal.
Yeah, it's utterly insane how much turbos have advanced or still advancing to this day, no matter if it's pulling or racing. But I will say the thing, it's crazy when you think about it. When you go back to what you just said, they were never on the dyno. But if you watch the guys that were in that era, it doesn't matter if it's pro stock, modified, super stock, any of it. You listen by ear, you roll by the seat of your pants. And that's why I think the driving capabilities back then, in my opinion, are better than what it is now, just because they actually had to go by the seat of your pants all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little bit sometimes a guessing game, and then and hopefully you come out on top. Timing and water stuff we bolt on. I can remember, the first time we made changes to Carl, and again, I was on the back burner on this, but Carl there again has to give a lot of credit to Ferd and Nick McCormick, because I think that helped his program out quite a bit too back in the day. They did. If I'm saying it right, Carl.
Yes, they ran good, and we would share some information, and so as far as back to dyno, I'm sure you guys were here too, but I know Hypermax had a dyno room. And it's very secretive. Jerry Lagat or Jeff up there never said, heck, you got X number of horsepower on the dyno. Never ever told me. And I didn't hear him tell anybody else, but sometimes you'd hear a little talk, I guess. Somebody thought so, but so they were running the dyno and testing before they put their parts out to us, and usually they worked when you got them.
Right. Yep.
So
kind of want to take a minute and give a shout out to some of our guys that are watching the show. They're the Floating Finish crew. That is a German-based podcast show for tractor pulling over in Europe. They stayed up to watch this one with us, so we can't say thank you to them. Jacob Motes, he said, did Master Blaster have a TA yet?
If you want to answer it for me, no, we didn't run a TA in it. we tried and it wouldn't hold. Had a little more power, and then we could put more. Somebody probably could have had a TA that worked, but no TA in it.
Yeah, we have another one. Did you ever come to Springfield or down here in the southern region at all?
Now you're referring to Illinois. Is that
Well,
Springfield?
Tennessee,
Oh,
Alabama.
Tennessee. No, I never got. Yeah, we did go down into Georgia, I think a time or two, but no, not in those areas. A little bit in Kentucky.
Right.
But,
For National Farm Machinery Show, you were obviously in Louisville.
yes.
And this was the question that I was actually fixing to ask before it popped up on the screen is what size Chargers did you guys run back then compared to what we're running now?
Just one of these things we never talked about, but there the last one I was running was a 5.1.
5.1.
That was the last one you said?
Yeah, that's the last one there, that I had on my tractor.
What year was the last year of competition for you?
I think, and I bear with me, I think 2008. So it's been a lot of years ago.
It's been
I
some
think
time.
that was the time that I saw you run at Bowling Green, Ohio. Whenever that was my first year I went to Bowling Green, so I'm pretty sure I saw you run there. And besides National Farm Machinery Show, I was so young, I never had the chance to see you run anywhere else much.
The way I remember, and I don't want to talk here about myself at all, but 2008, we were having some bottom end problems, and we had to hold it and put it back together. And I think it was Wilmington, Ohio, and it was running good, but down about 280, 90 feet, blow by started, and it got to rattle a little bit, and Lenders beat me. I think about 6-7 feet maybe, but we died because they said, we was going to fly past them. And I remember it. We would have gone by, always if, but it didn't happen that way. And when you talk about Louisville, I chose not to even put in to go to Louisville. Not that I would have been accepted, but, probably if I put in, but I thought, and that just was kind of the end of things. Didn't really aim to quit, but that's it. We did. And here maybe I'm getting off, but one thing at that time, components were starting to come in, and we had priced to go to component that way, and the big block deers were getting harder to beat. And not that I was afraid to not run against them, but I just felt like at my age that we'd spent enough time at it. And the family kind of agreed. And Stuart Mays just out of the blue called and said somebody said I'd sell it. And I said, no, it's not for sale. But we talked and he bought it. And he says, how soon can I get it? So, and I said it was broke at that point. And I told him about how many thousands of dollars it cost to fix it. So, but anyway, that's the way the tractor left here.
Yep. So funny you actually mentioned that because Wyatt and I, we kind of got curious as to where all this went, and I got told that Mr. Stuart Mays had bought it. And Tony, I think you're the one who told me that.
Yeah.
But then the chassis went and all the other components after he took off what he wanted, right? Was the turbo and the fuel and the air and stuff off the engine for it. Mr. Clint Tucker ended up with the chassis, and we were actually able to track down what we think is the remainder of Night Moves.
I can, for what I know, Stuart, basically my understanding, he just bought it because he thought I had special parts, which I wasn't the only one that had those parts, but we had, I'm sure, the latest of Hypermax parts at that time. And, it was running competitive when it ran. And especially had a driver knew what he's doing on it. But anyway, but no, that was my understanding. And, I was glad the tractor didn't go back on the track, honestly. It would have hurt more to watch it run down the track, I think.
Yes,
it just was gone. And, but he bought it to do whatever he wanted to with it. And so, I'm sure he did.
The picture I'm about to pop up on screen is what we think is the sheet metal and the roll cage and everything. It went to a gentleman named Mick, and I'm going to mess up this name horribly.
It's hard to pronounce, and I was trying to pronounce it too, and I didn't want to butcher it.
I'm gonna say Gajeski. That's how I'm gonna try to pronounce that. And that right there is what we believe is the hood, the fenders, and the roll cage of it, at least.
So somehow or another, there was a Smith that had some tractors. Somebody said he ended up with the sheet metal and stuff. Now, see, was it Harry Smith? I don't know the man, but I mean, I know he was pulling some, and but so I don't know where it went. Honestly, don't.
Oh.
Hindsight, Stuart asked me if I'd like to keep the sheet metal, and I thought yes, and I thought, boy, let's just let it go.
Yeah.
So
now, Tony, you still got a couple of pieces from it sitting in your shop too, don't you?
The night moves.
Yes.
The only thing I got's the rear end housing that was drilled and drilled and drilled because when he broke the differential at Louisville, we put a differential in the rear end and it actually had cracked the rear end. So we had to change the housing also besides the differential. And I actually kept the rear ends over in one of my buildings.
What about the rims?
Oh, I got those. We had those. I forgot about telling you that, but 24-532, the rims, Carl cleaned out some stuff up there and they just called me up to come up there and get them. And I just mounted them up on a set of 24-532 tires that Tim Kane had, thinking I might run the Battle of the Bluegrass as what they call them, a light limited pro stock, but I never did. I never did run it.
For others watching from different parts of the world, that's the equivalent of 85 Limited Pro for where we live, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
A slight little different rule change here and there.
And yeah, I'm not so sure. I still ain't going to try to double up down there. I'm going to talk to Ambergy about it. And I ain't so sure I may not double up down there and try to run the 85 and the 95 down there.
Oh, sweet.
Hot Farm and Limited Pro. Because my turbo's legal. My weight, I can get my weight and I can run both if I wanted to. It's just that's a lot of time. And like we know, Carl, we ain't getting any younger. So it's like, I don't know if I can do that or not, but I'm thinking about it.
Yep. So Mr. Ben Hone comes in. He said, that is correct. That is it. Mick's wife, Becky Hone Gaujeski, I'm going to say, is my first cousin. Tractor is an 11,000 pound pro farm tractor with ITPA, so it's in Illinois.
Huh.
That's awesome. Wyatt, good work on that one, brother.
Cool.
Little bit of the roll cage recognition, was kind of what awesome. I was going off of. But let's go to some questions too. Colin Burkholz, not a light pro puller, asking, Carl, do you have a favorite win?
Oh boy. I'm going to say yes, and I can't just say one particular, but anything at Bowling Green Farm Machinery Show. We did win the last Indy Super Pool, and this is close to home. And I called it the Super Pool, or they call the Indy Pool there. And so, I mean, those, but we've had some pools sometimes that just I know sticks in my mind as special. One of them was here in Indiana, down southern Indiana. We were number one hook, had a nice pool, didn't quite get a full pool, so they decided to reset the sled. And, what do you say? Yeah, maybe I had a good pull, close enough to get it out. So I think 3 of us would come back, got it pulled out in a pull-off with Shope, one of Steve Boyd's tractors, myself. And I shouldn't have been able to hook again, but I had a steering issue, lost all my steering. When I pulled out the end of the track, I had to go back down to the end of the track, get hitched to the sled. Not any steering, period. And somehow I got backed up to the sled using the brakes and got hitched on, and we won the pull-off. I think like 6 or 7 feet. Heck of a nice run. But just have to go 3 times and beat the caliber tractors. It just, I earned that one, I guess I say. But I probably shouldn't have really been able to hook. Safety issue, but it worked out good. Got by with it.
So you hooked 3 times in that same night without any steering at all after the first one.
Well, I lost it evidently in the second run. I didn't realize till I went to pull off the track and I didn't have any steering.
Oh, no.
So, but
Tony, were you there for that one?
No, I wasn't there.
That's Salem, Indiana, Tony.
Yeah, I wasn't on that one. Yeah.
So, but just things sticks in mind, luck and maybe some oversight. Somebody lets you. But I didn't feel uncomfortable pulling it. Both wheels was there. I didn't need them once I got started down the track anyway.
Yep.
So now there is one pass that I saw online here within the last week. It was whenever you were at the National Farm Machinery Show. I want to say it was in 1995 or 1996. Whenever you had the front end come up off the ground, but the right front tire kind of broke on you. Did that bother you at all going down the track, even though your front end was literally
tire was turned sideways?
Yes, it really. I mean, as soon as I left the line, or very shortly after, I was looking down the track, I guess, trying to see how straight and where it was, and there that wheel was setting sideways, and the first thing I'd ever noticed, even I saw it on video, I never ever noticed let off the throttle, but that's the first thing I thought, man, got to get out of this. Well, my front was up some, so I didn't want to come out of the throttle particularly because I was afraid you couldn't let it down easy at that point. So it was going straight, and I kind of probably drove and kept leaning over and looking and trying to figure out how I was going to get out of the throttle without just turning the front end clear under it. And it wasn't driving skill or anything. It's just good fortune that it just come down. But I'd look back and I don't know why I didn't have a better run. I did really. It wasn't a bad run, but I wasn't focused on anything other than how I was going to get out of the throttle and stop that thing without burying it some way. And somebody was watching out for me, I'd say.
Yeah. So Tony, you've been around it too. I mean, you're pulling now, obviously. How much has the sled technology changed from back whenever you guys were in the pro stock then compared to now?
Technology there is just as much as it was in the, this 30-year stretch through here. The technologies of it's just, it's just a Class A deal on how they do that now on the sled. And I'm not a sled person, but it's just advanced as just as much as anything. The weight transfer and just the idea of this, self-propelled sled. Back then, we used to pull them back with the track. Some of them was still getting pulled back by the tractor, by another tractor. They didn't have self-propelled clear back in the beginning, obviously. But the sleds, they're like anything else. They've got them things dialed in especially to be able to stop, 5,000 horsepower tractors, 10,000 horsepower tractors. Those sleds can stop them. They do a good job on knowing how to get that weight put in that box and how to make that transfer weight and how to get the sled down and dig in to stop them guys. And you got to really respect the sled operators that do that for the safety issue of the whole program, because they know as much about anything on that track as anybody, as the sled operators. So that's pretty impressive how they can stop the horsepower, stop that horsepower and keep everything safe and keep it all intact and for the fans and the driver.
Mr. Smith, is there anything you want to add to that?
Just agree with Tony. It's amazing. I mean, those sled operators are guessing track conditions just like us as drivers are, how to set it. And, there's a fine line there where it's heavy or it's not heavy enough. And, I mean, in my opinion, they do an excellent job. I mean, it's makes for a good show.
Right. So now you guys were also in the era where roll cages were non-existent. What was that like whenever you guys went through that change and you put the roll cage on? How much adjusting did you have to do? What did you have to change? If a lot for your setups whenever you added that much extra weight going to the pulls?
Me personally, I'd say it wasn't a big change really, because that weight was right over the axle. And so you just kind of adjusted, your front end weight maybe accordingly. And, but to me, and yeah, to sit in there and my cage, Brett Bird made it. It just happened to be who I got mine off of. And I think he did a nice job. And, it did the job. We didn't have to test it out, fortunately, but it was there if we'd have needed it. And so I think it was a good rule that, they put that in. And so, no, I mean, I feel like I adapted to it with really no issues.
It was at one point in time where everybody was skeptical about it. Oh, we don't need this. Oh, we don't need that. And now, a lot of times, people won't run without them. I won't jump in one without one. I think it was just one of those rules, and we see it stay in some classes now where it's just a necessity. And I think it saved a lot of people because there's been a lot of rollovers since it got implemented.
Really has.
So,
Yeah, Shane, you kind of can speak for that one.
Yeah, that was not fun. I'm here to tell you that was not fun.
Sorry, I just had to throw that in.
I'm used to it by now. I hear about it every day up here too. Yeah. We've got a comment list from Mr. Darren Horsemeyer, I want to say. Carl is a class act for sure. Gave us his blessing to use the name on our 85 Limited Pro Stock here in Missouri. Thanks again. Darren, funny you mentioned that you're in Missouri because I saw on y'all's Facebook profile that you guys are going to be in Paris. I'll actually get to see you guys there. I'm on the mic there in Paris, Missouri, so I'll actually get to announce y'all's tractor. I can't wait to announce the Night Move's name at the very least. That'll be awesome.
I'll step in here, and I missed the name, but I know the gentleman. I say call him a gentleman because I think he is. From what I know of him, he asked if it'd be okay to use that name, and I said, "Hey, I don't own that name at all, and I'd be more than welcome." He said it'd be a nice looking tractor and take care of it. So it sounds like they followed through. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and and I think that's something that we're kind of seeing more and more because is it a limited pro or a light pro up there that's called Slow Ride?
It's a limited pro. Yeah, Adam Stevens runs Badger State Limited Pro Stock and calls his tractor the Slow Ride.
Yeah, but didn't he get permission from Mr. Terry to run that name specifically?
I cannot speak for that. I do not know that.
I thought that I had heard that story about it, but I think it's really neat if that is the case that the younger ones are going to the guys who made those names so famous to start with and getting their blessing to use those names. I think that's absolutely it. It shows the respect that's there for the guys that came before them, in my opinion.
And
that's what I'd like to say to him. I mean, I appreciate him asking, but I didn't feel like I owned that name by any means. But I mean, I thought a lot of the man that he did ask if it's okay. So
what? And I wanted to ask about that because it's been on my mind. Because you had Master Blast before, and the tractor you bought, obviously Night Moves, came from Bill Voorhees.
Yes.
What was the idea on changing the name to Night Moves, and where did that come from?
Back to my wife, Christy. She's a Bob Seger fan. And he's one of his songs. I don't know if that's her favorite song, but Night Moves. And
okay,
working on the Night Moves. Sung that song many a times.
Yeah, I'll say, I think Bob Seger. I mean, yeah, we've been to a lot of his concerts, and I'm not into music much, but he kind of, I guess, my wife and I, his songs are related to people like us, just that age through something. I don't know. We just and I enjoy listening to him. But anyway, but Night Moves was for Bob Seger.
That really is neat. So I want to go back and talk to you about your relationship that you had with Nick McCormick, because from what I understand, Night Moves was one of the first tractors to have a profab transmission in it, right?
Yes.
Kind of talk to us about that, about how all that came about.
I don't know if we're just through Ferd and Nick, and we was talking here, trying transmissions, what do we do to come up with something? And anyway, it come through Peterson, pulls a 4-wheel drive, profab, and that's where we got it through. And then Nick, he kind of helped get her fit in there and all that too, because it was kind of a big ordeal for somebody like me. I could drive the tractor, but I'm not just the best mechanically inclined. Yeah, I've done a lot of wrenching on it, but anyway, I appreciate like Tony. Yeah, just I've had a lot of people help me along. Tony, my brother, helped a lot. Just people I forget that's helped us be as successful as we were. But no, I think that for Nick and Ferd McCormick, I mean, yeah, we just have known the family for years, and we lost Ferd here this last fall. Were you was aware of that or not? But
yes, sir.
So, but I think the only other person to drive a tractor, I had a kidney stone issue, and Nick drove the tractor for me. Took a couple pulls.
I was going to ask you how many people have driven night moves besides yourself.
Just Nick was the only one that ever drove it, and
oh wow,
kind of tried to get my son-in-law drive a little bit. We didn't keep it long enough getting him there because he'd probably be wanting to still drive today. Bruce.
So you said your biggest turbo that you ran was the 5.1, right?
5.1, yes.
So there's now a class right there in Indiana that's kind of become a launching pad in a way, because that's where you see a lot of them is the 5.0 Pro Stock class, and they're limited to 5 inches on the charger, no intercooler, and 680 cubes, right, Wyatt?
Basically a big pro, except for a couple different things like the charger and intercooler.
So the more that I've been hearing about that, about the past of the Pro Stocks, Wyatt, it kind of more of a throwback to the 90s Pro Stock in a way, but with the technology of the turbos and everything still intact.
Yes and no. I mean, a lot of what the light Pro Stock is today is what that 90s Pro Stock was. I mean,
right, because I have the 5-inch limit too, but their cubic inches are limited to 540.
Yeah, a lot of RPMs, a lot of spinning.
Right,
so, but they all come from something. You see it's history repeats itself in one way, shape, or form. So, and that's where we've seen a lot of that 90s Pro Stocks, light Pro Stock. It's
in a way, history's kind of starting to repeat itself with that 5.0 Pro Stock class, because there's Region 2 is kind of where it's started in a way for the NTPA side.
It's technology and everything's developed that long. It's repeating itself in one way, shape, or form. But I would say in the era of Carl, though, that's when it was you would start seeing the leaps and bounds of what technology was advancing. Turbochargers, fuel pumps, cylinder head technology, the valve train, all of it. Transmission, like they said, the first one to have a profab at that point in time. There was a lot of experimental R&D stuff happening. What we now use today.
Right.
So.
One thing about that profab transmission that worked for us, but back then we ran a 10 and a 12,000 Pro Stock, and this tractor, Bill had it down that he could run the 7,500 pound class. So I mean, and I just tried that a couple of times. Did pretty good one time. The other time, up and down, kind of wild ride. But I mean, that was a wide, so you needed big gear selections. You're just going to run a 12,000 pound class versus a 7,500. So that's one reason we went with that type of transmission to give us those options.
How did that feel with those kind of rides, though, compared to whenever you guys bolted the roll cage on, kind of being more free and bouncing up and down? Did you kind of get a little bit more nervous about it, or were you just along for the ride back then?
Well, I probably got a little more nervous about it, but, I adjusted. I just felt like it just, with that around you, and just a little different feel strapped in there to it. But I didn't feel like it was an issue with me, as far as adapting and driving with it, sitting in it.
Right. Wow. Wyatt, do you have anything you want to add to this, bud?
I don't know where to go with it, is the thing. I don't know what questions to ask, because I feel like people in the comments would have a lot more questions to ask,
Yeah.
but I didn't prepare well enough. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Miss Amanda Stern left a comment. She said, "We are under the impression that the slow ride of Adams was given permission from Mr. Terry." He said Adams' tractor is the rear end of the old T-Bone Pro, so I'm assuming that's the 966, right?
Yes, the old T-Bone Pro stock.
So where is T-Bone then, if that's the case? Just saying.
Nowhere. Parted out.
Okay.
Its block is somewhere, but hooks now have a newer John Deere big block. So
yeah. Tony, when's your first hook gonna be, buddy?
Well, I was hoping to go possibly battle the bluegrass on May the 11th at Brandenburg, Kentucky, but that is not 100% yet. But that's what I am shooting for, and that's the battle of the bluegrass. So usually our first Hoosier state hook, the state hook will start at Richmond in June. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but usually it starts in the very, very early first part of June. And then we'll go from there. In our talking about technology, well, the way stuff is, but our hot farm class for Region 2 has almost doubled in pulls this year. I'm thinking. I don't have it in front of me, but we went from like 14 last year, and we're up over 22 or 24 this year. Mm-hmm. So our class, we're going to be hustling to make all those. But this hot farm class we pull in is getting back to technology here. I'll throw this in there real quick here for you. But Carl, when he first got his tractor, from Bill, and I don't know the exact numbers, so don't quote me on any numbers. I'm not a number guy. But Carl's horsepower then is just about what we're pushing now on hot farm, being a 510.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's some tractors, and I don't know the numbers. I'll probably get laughed at on this or cussed at, one of the two. But I've heard there's some numbers on these hot farm tractors that are approaching close to 1,1800.
Mm-hmm.
And if I recall back in the day, Carl's when he first got that. I don't think, Carl, if I'm saying this right, I don't think I was told if we clear back at when we got your tractor there at the beginning. I don't know if it was 2,000 horsepower yet or not. Back
at my understanding at the time, and like I say, Hypermax stuff, they just didn't talk that. And I guess I don't push, and
right.
But and you'd have to put down Louisville entry. So how much horsepower you got? Well, I don't know. And I think it's time I put down 1,200 just because I didn't know, and I thought sure I had that plus. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't think we were to 2,000 at all when we bought it.
Yeah, and that's just the way the technology's grown in this 30-year run. And here we are, a 510 with a 3x3.5 charger, pushing 17, close to maybe 1,800 horsepower. So I'm not there yet myself. I'll be lucky to make 1,500, but I'm just saying I've heard some numbers, or some guys, that like to talk numbers, and that's what I've heard. I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm that far off. But the rate I'm going, I'll be lucky to make it down the track this year. The rate I'm going, but
if your guillotine hadn't shut on you at Murfreesboro, you were fixing to shake up the order there.
I gotta admit, I felt good about that one. So hopefully we'll get. I mean, we're working on it obviously now. So
yeah. Mr. Brad Taylor comes in with a question. He said, "What happened to the old 1206? Where is it at now?" Any idea?
That's a question to me.
Yes, sir.
It went to some man, I can't remember his name now, in New York. And then supposedly somebody back in Kentucky had it. And this has been years ago. And a guy kind of gave me a call or something about, hey, I had your tractor, and he run into the side reel or something at a pull he's at, tore it all up. And that's been years ago. So I really don't know. But like I say, I do know that it went to New York, that I sold it, the old Master Blaster. And And where it went from there, I don't know, honestly.
I thought the old Night Moves tractor got sold to Nick McCormick and name changed to Nasty Stuff. That is not right.
Mm-mm.
No.
Didn't Nick build his tractor new?
What, that Nasty Stuff?
Yeah, the first.
Oh,
version.
yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too. I mean, but no, it's not anything to do with the Night Moves tractor.
Right.
Yeah.
Cody coming with a question earlier. He says, "What's the competition been like when you started, when you bought it from Bill, to when you stopped, when the components started coming in? Was it always at the top, or was there times when it was kind of iffy? What's going to happen? We don't know."
Back here, it's been a lot of years ago, and I'm not a young man anymore. And I keep saying sometime, I got to stop and think here, I guess. But the competition. I mean, yeah, we were toward the top a lot, but I mean, there were a lot of good, and we keep talking a lot of good red tractors. And then we mentioned the Mastersons and the Littles, the big block deers. I mean, no, I never felt like from day one, I'm going to say, yeah, I was right up close to the top of horsepower a lot of the time. But I just don't felt like we dominated the horsepower. We was fortunate enough we could get our tractor to hook good, and we made a lot of wrong decisions as weights. And yeah, I say a lot, but I seemed like I was able to read a track. I feel like on the whole good, and was able to take advantage of what I had. Yeah, I made my share of mistakes, a lot more than I'd like to think I made, but. So, and I don't know when, and probably when we started to hear when I sold the tractor, and that wasn't really selling, but it was, to me, obviously, it's going to be hard to compete with the big block John Deeres. I mean, that was just my feeling way back then, and I feel like it's kind of turned out that way. I mean, with the red blocks, we were just limited, had to run things too thin, and of course, I don't care what you had. I think other guys like us are going to tune it to get the most horsepower they get. But I mean, the durability of ours was limited, I think, with what we were doing sometimes. So, anyway, just thoughts.
I was I don't know if you guys ever seen this statement that was made sometime, but Carl was always not always, but I had seen statements from some people saying that Carl was the king. Like Esden's the king of smoke, and Carl was the king of RPMs. And there was through the RPMs, I think he turned the most RPMs I've ever seen.
Well, it's either in between him or Tom Harmon.
Yeah, one of the two.
One of the two.
Yeah. But I think we lost him there for some reason.
Well, he'll be right back, I'm sure.
But his competition there, getting back there, just to kind of keep talking about that, was Boyd's. When Boyd's come into the program, that was a big step for the that was the first big step of competition. Masterson's, they was there obviously, but the Boyd's, that was their that was the bigger at that time. That was the biggest competition that was going for them.
Yeah, it's you put up any result page from any polls back when the Grand National were running all over the country. Just the lineup, you can name every one of them, and it is a just gauntlet of tractors. I mean, guy not too far down the road, we were trying to get on here too, Bill Miller. You've got Clark, you've got the Mastersons, you got Boyd's, you've got, a lot of different people.
Yeah, that name that's on that screen right there too,
Barty Nelson.
Yeah, I lost you guys for a little bit. I'm sorry there. I'm back.
No,
it's okay.
You're fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that I don't even know, and I apologize to the guys we're not mentioning because there's so many more of them out there. That was
Pro Fox.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Pro Fox, yes.
Now, who owned that one? I've never known the history behind that one.
Basically, the only place I think I ever run into them would be at Toma, and he was up in that area. Well, I remember him.
I'm blanking on his name too right now.
I think that
Somebody could probably throw
chassis
it.
is a light.
Colin could probably throw it.
Persons.
I think that chassis is a light pro stock chassis now.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
Would it be Curtis
doesn't-
Person, possibly?
Curtis,
Yep,
Curtis
there it is.
Parsons,
Curtis
yes,
Parsons.
Bullfox. Yes, that's who it was.
Yep, Mr. Smith, you're right on the money, sir.
Sometimes I get lucky. Okay.
We're gonna go back up here, and we were talking about nasty stuff before, and they said nasty stuff first was old flirting with disaster by Carl Mozinski.
Yeah, the original one, I guess.
I'm gonna say yes. That's true.
And then another question. This is from my brother. Carl, what drew you towards the Magnum hoodwork at first when you bought it from Bill? Since that time you bought it, that type of tractor, the Boxcar Magnum series, was fairly new.
This is what Bill had set it up, and it's actually a 966 tractor, and it had the sheet metal upgrade approved or whatever. So we ran the 436 block, and so I mean that was kind of the history before I got it. And like I say, Bill had it set up, and it was basically, well, I got two engines when I bought it. Never ever talked that. The Hypermax, and then the other was a bigger cubic engine. And I never did ever run the engine. I just stayed with the Hypermax and sold the other one.
Wow. The amount of history we've learned and everything that was going on in the days of the pro stocks, it's been really cool to hear over the last hour or so.
Like I said, golden age of pro stock.
Oh,
No
absolutely.
I talk, Indiana, we had a lot of pro stocks, but Ohio was really, Lorenz and Wilkins, Smuckers. I'll forget. There's
Snicker.
Snickers there in Illinois, top of their class.
Yeah. I've kind of been talking to them too a little. Maybe.
Larry, you also ran against Larry Shope and the Iron Dragon, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Now that one I know is a light pro somewhere. I can't remember where. I think it's out west. On the other side of the Mississippi, anyway.
It is. Like we said, the amount of names in that era of pro stock when you started till now, well, even when you got out of it, is just utterly crazy.
Mm-hmm. Brett Berg built the Magnum sheet metal.
Yeah. That's
Wilkins, Lorenz.
And Shotgun Red still runs today.
Yes, it does. Yeah, Darren, I'll make sure I'll swing by and see you guys whenever we're out there. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I've never actually had the chance to come out to a bull in Missouri, but been watching on the internet for a long time. So
now, Carl, you said before you'd think about jumping on one. If you could jump on a tractor, what would you drive?
Oh boy, I guess I bleed red, but
obviously,
yeah. I guess I don't think about it because it's. Oh yeah, I'm sure something can be worked out someday. I shouldn't say that, but I don't know, but yeah, it'd be a thrill to drive one. I don't think it, out of just a hook and say, man, just tack her up and let it go. Hang on. And I'm sure tire speed and all that is much different. I've been out of this thing since 2008, I think. And, obviously they're running twice as much horsepower, I guess. And it's a lot more tire speed. But no, I think it'd give you a thrill.
Yeah. So if you were going to do anything, you'd go into the pro stock class again.
Yes, I would. I just lived that my life, and I think still it's just one of the most popular classes, I feel like, crowd wise, the horsepower, and there's Of course, green's kind of dominating, I say now, and then the Mac rules today. I guess I don't watch green, watch red sometimes. I don't keep up with these guys, talk to them much, but I get a red tractor's done pretty good. Next thing I know, it's running green motor. So okay.
Yeah,
Oh, believe me, there's a
I
lot.
was
There's
wondering if he was
I
going to
know.
say it.
yeah.
So I don't
I
know. I
know.
need to get in this conversation, but that's what it is, the way the rules are, and hey, I can understand why guys are doing what they're doing. So
That's
Yeah.
Adam Deckard says you look great on Canes. Tim Kane's Red Gambler.
Do it.
he looked good at Louisville this year. I'll say that. First night, definitely
did.
he showed power.
Yeah. So now, you go to the National Farm Machinery Show every year, don't you?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
I haven't been to any other tractor pull since I quit. Stayed away from it.
Really?
Just,
So you only go to Louisville?
that's the one I've been thinking. I'd love to go to Bowling Green. I just, and for the first 4 or 5 years, I mean, there's a time I was ready to go again. And I just, my age, I'm 81 years old now. And, I'm not,
Oh my.
yeah, I'm saying somebody my age doesn't need to be on a 5,000 horsepower tractor, probably.
Nah, we make it work. We'll be all right.
So,
Yep.
but no, I've been blessed with my life, a lot of things. So,
Michael Palmer is actually watching. He says Carl needs a ride on the Avenger.
I agree. Tenfold. Yeah, I agree.
you guys talk get me in trouble, but I'm gonna say anybody's thinking like, hey, thank you for thinking of me, but I think I've had my day. You guys are, I read results. I still see that. So you guys keep pushing away, okay?
We can.
Yeah,
I'll pick you up, Carl, and we'll go to Green. We'll go up there to. We can go up there to. Over there in Ohio. There, I lost the word there, but we can go to Ohio there at the end of the year at Georgetown.
Oh, Georgetown.
We can go to Georgetown at the end of the year and hop on Palmer's. I'll pick you up on the way.
Well, I'm gonna thank you and Mike both, but I'm gonna decline. Okay, I need to come watch them, I guess. But
Brian
Everyone
Gettinger
loves the idea of it, though.
Brian Gettinger asked the question. He says, "Ask Carl about winning a
Whoa.
super stock."
okay, winning. What was it? I missed the question there. What about winning a super stock?
Brian Gettinger says, "Ask Carl about winning a pole on a green super stock."
Okay, that's back to memory, but I did. It was a John Deere, and where did we pull it? Is here in Indiana, and anyway,
Connorsville, he says.
I'd say it probably was, and people
that
had a
been up in
wedding,
Adam?
to go to, and so anyway, I got on it there at the pool. First time I was ever on the tractor, and I put it in this gear, take off. I guess it's kind of what I was told to do. So somehow or another, they must have weighted it right. And I got an RPM, got bill boost, and we won the pool. So I was tickled to death.
Wow.
Well, that would have been up in Adam, or my mistake?
No, it wasn't.
No.
And here I'm going. The guys run a Superstock International. They help work on my tractor some too. Steve Burge.
Okay.
But anyway, they're from Hagerstown area. So they still run. They still run a Superstock tractor, but that time they had that John Deere. And so
Okay.
no, I was nervous about that too. More nervous than I was climbing on mine. I always get nervous when I'd hitch. I think that's just part of the thrill, I guess. Get a little nervous about what you're doing and cross your fingers. But
I don't eat.
Yeah,
I can't eat before a
definitely.
pole. I can't eat no food. I can't do it until I get over
I can't either. Nope. I do not eat until after I'm done pulling.
Yeah.
I don't care how late or how early in the night I am. I will not eat before I run.
Yeah.
but I'd
Yeah, it's
say
been
probably. Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
I just gonna say, talking to you guys here, what I can say back then, working with you, Carl, and I couldn't remember, but the Grand National points, did you win that? And was it 95 or 6? On the Grand?
Good
Do you remember?
question. I
don't remember.
I didn't show loyalty maybe as much, but I think 90. I was thinking it was a little before that when I won the NTPA Grand National. Earlier than that.
Yeah.
I told you memory here, but
But
anyway.
you did at least win one.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
That's what I was going to say. It's been my dream of helping you, obviously, and getting back to Shane's brother Darren in 19. He asked me to come on board with him just because I was working with you, Carl, and that's the whole reason Darren asked me to help him, because he trusted me to work on his and help him guys. And of course, Ryan done the work, and I just helped him along, and it's just a pretty big deal to be able to win. Help you win your championship, and I helped Darren win his.
Yeah.
Oh, I got two of them there to be thankful that we got that done, and I was just glad to be a part of it.
So Tony Weber is the secret to a red pro stock winning a Grand National title.
I don't know about that. I can't make a doggone hot farm running. I know what to do, but my pocketbook ain't that deep. I know what I can do, but
yeah, I was getting ready to make a comment, Tony. Just spend some money.
What's that?
I know what I was going to say. Just spend enough money. Crazy. But anyway, it's fun.
Oh, Lord.
I just got in my head, I just go out and do it and have fun. And if I just run consistent and be happy, I got one to. And Carl, I always kept my Magnum sheet metal on mine. I built that first tractor, was a 1466, and I sold the sheet metal and I sold the chassis. I parted it. I built that thing out of used parts just to get it on a track because I helped promote a pull. And then when I got a chance to buy that Magnum, which is actually, it's a 7220, but still it's the same sheet metal you got.
Yeah.
So when it comes out this summer, it's going to be an identical replica of yours.
Okay.
Except just a hot farm. So
I wonder where those fenders came from. Though.
I wonder where those fenders come from. Thanks to your brother.
I might know the original place for those.
I've been trying to find a set of original fenders for a long time, but yeah, we're going to get it all back looking original. And I don't know if I'm going to be 100% done with it. Obviously, it takes a lot of time, but that's my goal. And it's going to be a replica. That's going to be the replica of the back in the day of Carl's tractor.
Good old days, Tony.
Good old days, Carl. Hey, I was going to tell these guys, I probably shouldn't say this, but when you asked me to work on the farm tractor and I come up there, and when you first got that thing and I come up there to your barn up there, and I do say barn because when I walked in to work on his tractor, we worked on a dirt floor for years. A dirt floor. Had one patch of concrete over on the side where the toolbox was at, and then we worked on the dirt floor. So
you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but
couldn't spin a tractor and build good tool shed or shop.
He sold the tractor and poured concrete.
Yep.
Hey Tony, you've got to bring back the velocity stack out the hood.
Oh, there's actually a slot cut for it.
Do it. I want to see it.
Yeah. I could make that happen pretty easy. Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Hey, that comment before though, Carl, this is going back to the green super stock we're talking about. It's Mark Wiederhold, the Bare Necessities.
No, I keep going. The guy's it was Mark. Oh, and he lives in Hagerstown. Kind of an equipment jockey.
Mark Fouts.
Mark Fouts. Thank you, Tony. That's whose tractor it was.
Okay.
If that rings a bell, you guys at all, but he never pulled that much for years.
Yep.
There it is. There we go.
Yeah, La Follette.
Thank you, Tony.
Let's
Yep.
talk about
Yep.
another tractor that looks really good. La Follette's got a really good looking Light Pro coming out.
Yes.
That Ice Light. I love it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Well, y'all, we've gone about an hour and 10 minutes. We don't want to take up any much more time of y'all's time. I know you guys are an hour ahead of us for sure here. Me and White are on Central Time, but thank you guys from both of us for coming on to this show and doing this with us.
Mm-hmm.
We
we've
we're
been
so
considering
thankful
we've been
for it.
considering calling this a Legend series. Do you know of anybody else we could get on?
I've got a couple of ideas.
I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you for thinking of me, because I don't think of myself as a legend, but I fit that time period, I'd say. And,
Yes, sir.
You know what's
So-
what's pretty cool, Carl? I still got people today when I go to polls. I still got people today that will come up and ask me how you're doing because they affiliate me with you. Yeah, I still got people. I mean, I go to these region polls and try to show up and people, they'll come up to me and say, hey, you talked to Carl lately? How's Carl doing? They still ask about you because they know that we work together.
I feel embarrassed sometimes. I say I go to Louisville, and people, walking around the seat or something, call you by name and just make good comments to me, how they enjoyed watching me and that. And it kind of, it's touching that people remember that. I guess I didn't think of myself as in that category, that you remember me 20 years later or something.
Oh,
So
absolutely. But the
well, that's
videos that are out there now, your legacy will be on for forever.
That's a definition of, that there's a definition of the true definition of it there, of being a legend.
Yeah. Like I say, I don't think of myself as that, but we've had a lot of success and fortunate.
One of your friends, Mr. Terry Benson, he says, oh, not that one. Hi, Carl. We will still build a component when you want to get back in it and say hi to all your family for me. Miss you guys. That comes from Mr. Terry Benson.
Well, see, I get myself in trouble here. Guys want to help me, and I thank them.
Yeah, Nick McCrell, he just debuted the 510 sub for his hot farm burning cash last weekend in Litchfield, Kentucky. We'll talk about that here in just a second, but he said not a red guy, but he was my favorite red tractor.
Yep. Nick runs good. That white he's got is nice tractor.
Yeah, man, it does. Awesome. He ran really good this past weekend in Litchfield there. We were out there for the Crusade for Children's Benefit Pool there in Litchfield, Kentucky. They had 154 hooks. It was mainly a farm stock hook, but they had 154 hooks and didn't get finished pulling until 3 o'clock in the morning. It was a long night.
Yeah, Nick's good guy. His family, we pulled with him at Glendale on that last year, kind of end of the year hook thing, and I talked to him there, and they're good family.
Yeah, they are.
Got a piece of chocolate cake from his wife. Even they were celebrating a birthday, and I didn't even know her, and they give me a piece of chocolate cake anyway. I thought that was good stuff. So that's what it's all about, though. When you go tractor pulling, you got friends everywhere. It's a pulling family.
Yes,
pulling family. You got friends forever. There's family and there's tractor pulling family, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it really is. Well, once again, thank you guys so much for coming on and joining us, y'all. Everybody show some love to these two. These two kind of paved the way for where we are now. And I can't wait to keep on competing myself behind them.
I'm gonna go work on my tractor tonight.
Oh boy,
you guys got me in the mood. We gotta get busy, huh?
It's getting that time, man. Pulling season's about to start.
That's
right. I gotta get my rear end in gear.
I gotta get my rear end together. Period. I gotta get my rear end in gear and my rear end together.
All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much, and we will be sure to stay in touch with you guys.
Y'all have a good night.
You
Okay,
too.
good night. Thank you guys, and good
Thank
luck
you,
to
Mr.
everybody.
Smith.
See you,
Thank
Tony.
you guys.
Bye,
See
guys.
y'all.
Okay,
Thanks
bye.
again. See you.
Okay.
Bye.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Wow. What an hour and 15 minutes of just sitting back here and stories and the history and everything, man. And I didn't know that he was ever on Super Stock. That was
There's
awesome.
video out there of it.
Is there?
There is video out there of it. So
That's absolutely awesome. Wow. Well, we haven't done a show since we got invited out to Galat Motorsports Park either. Let me tell you, man. That experience was absolutely something. Got there on Friday, flew in Friday, made it out to the track before the night session of qualifying and everything. Got to meet everybody. Spencer and his team welcomed me with open arms, and so did Derek's family.
pause just for a second. For anybody else that's watching right now that doesn't know what we're talking about, welcome to the Motorsports Almanac podcast. We're not just polling. Hello.
Yeah. No kidding, man.
So
getting to meet Tyler and the whole PDRA crew there. I mean, all the videographers, photographers, the amount of people from the media that were there. Oh my goodness. It was crazy. And then we were all down there cutting up video and photoing the whole weekend. And I would love to go back. I fully have intentions of going to another PDRA show, and they made a fan for life out of me for that one. It was awesome. Derek setting the record in Q3.
Yes, on the race that we made on this show right here.
Yeah, I think I've got that video done. It'll be up, guys. We're going to get back into our regular posting routine now that we've kind of got a way to balance it out between pulling and drag racing both, and hopefully we'll get some dirt racing stuff here soon.
Working on guests for future shows. It doesn't matter if it's pulling, dirt track, drag racing, all the above. I mean, Shelton's do both of it. I mean, heck, they won mod.
And for those of you guys that are still watching, and guys that you guys want to see us have on, just let us know. I mean, in the ways that Charles would put it, he said, "You don't really take no for an answer, do you?"
Nope.
We've been very, very fortunate to get the guests on that we've had so far. It's been awesome. But man, yeah, the PDRA's out in Virginia.
Yep.
This
Virginia
weekend.
Motorsports Park, Tommy and Judy Franklin's home track.
PA Polar 66 Esden Lane. We're trying.
Terry, are you still watching?
Yeah, Terry, buddy, we need to get Terry on here too. What are we talking about?
Well, I know. I'm just saying I need to talk to you. But
yeah, that'd be a fun one to do. But yeah, I mean, this past weekend, you guys showed a lot of love to us for being out there at the Litchfield Crusade for Children's Pool. I think they said they had over 850 fans come through, and it was $10 a pop to come through the gate there. So, I mean, you guys can do the math on that one automatically. I mean, it was awesome, and all of the money goes towards the kids there for the Crusade for Children. So, was really glad to be a part of that. A lot of tractors showed up. I mean, I said we had 154 of them. We had 120 hooks the year before. We had 154 there that night, and I think there was in one class, I think there was 34 entries in one of the classes. So, man, farm stock pulling's alive and well down here. I can tell you that right now.
Speaking of benefit pulls, I will shamelessly plug something. 2 weeks from now, we actually have a truck show, drag race, and test and tune tractor pull at our local drag strip, Earlville, which is Tri-State Raceway. It will have test and tune for pulling stuff, semi-regular drag races. It's a big cancer benefit show. All the proceeds go to cancer research. So just thought I'd throw that in there. But
absolutely, yeah, Mr. Benson. We need to work out a day to get you on our show too, sir.
Along with that whole northern Wisconsin,
digging hard. you guys, as then all of you guys need to be on at the same time. I think that'd be really cool to do. PA Puller 66, either of the Connor Bros or Doug Roberts would be cool too. Yeah. Connor, I can work on that one, I think.
Yeah, anybody that's got any suggestions of who we should have on?
Yeah, man, we are open suggestions. Of course, we're fixing to get into busy season.
Pulling, drag racing, dirt track, I don't really care. Any of it. All of it.
Yeah.
All of the above.
We are working on a pretty awesome drag racing guest, though. I've got to talk to Mick about that one. But we actually already have our guest for the next show decided. Mr. Sachka Mecking, who is actually a part of the Floating Finish web show, is, I think, going to be joining us for our next one to talk, because they are fixing to kick off their season over there too, just like we are. So he's going to we're going to learn a lot about European pulling compared to the United States pulling, and some of the things he's been telling me, wow, there's quite a contrast. So you guys be on the lookout for that. He said he's still here. Sachka.
Actually, almost by the time we're going to have him on is when technically Fuchsdorf Germany should be over by that time.
Our next show will be May 1st, so I mean it'll be
it should be after that, but yeah, they'll be pulling by then.
Yeah.
OG Badger State puller Gary Brinkmeyer.
That's a good shout, actually. I would enjoy that one.
There's a few. That whole entire region over there's got some.
Hey man, that's more up your area than mine.
Yeah, I know. It's like I said, I try to get Bill Miller on here too. Bill's right here in the county. Pulled against Carl for years. I mean, yes, Bill and Jason are still pulling, but I mean they started in that golden era too.
Yeah,
and
they did.
And the other two original tractors are still running.
Yeah, they had Cruising Mule 1 and Cruising Mule 2.
Cruising Mule 1 and Red Mule.
Oh, yeah.
Cruising Mule 2 is the current version. But
yep, you're right. I get them confused.
Do we have any other news to go over?
Offhand, I don't think so. I know that we're getting close to season starting. I think Battle of the Bluegrass actually starts their series this weekend. I believe already.
It's getting close. I know Florida just wrapped up.
Man. Like we're down here in the South. It's corn planting time. We're getting on the very tippy start of the year. Of course, you've got TPC coming up too.
Yep,
you guys gotta get ready for that one.
Yep, gonna be at TPC.
I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I haven't seen anything crazy.
Yeah, other than that, I don't know. The racing season kind of full swing. They were in Vegas last weekend. Got a week off this weekend. Then there'll be the Charlotte Four Wides. After that, there'll be Chicago.
And that's the Sunday of TPC too. That weekend.
PDRAs this weekend. Virginia.
Yeah.
And IMCA racing still all going around right now.
We're pretty busy. Got a lot of work before pulling starts. Oh, and then to get the farming done. Red Mule ended up at Essence. Think he got it ready for a guy as a hot farm.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's up there in Minnesota.
Huh. Neat.
Well, the old Red Mule Pro Stock.
Yeah, Future Dwarf Germany is going to be on the 27th and 28th.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening over there.
Yeah. Hey, that'll be a great deal to come on here and talk about. We can talk about Future Dwarf then.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about new heavy mods, light mods, stuff that's getting sent here, new diesel super stocks.
Yeah.
They got a whole lot of
stuff from here to go over there from a day's power weekend.
Yeah, so everybody that's still watching, 2 weeks from today is when we'll have Sasha on. We're going to talk about European tractor pulling. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of new stuff happening. Get ready for that. Share it. We're still growing.
You guys share this one around too. We want to make sure that this one gets out because first time that one's ever been done.
Well, and this goes back to when we did the Roberts, when we did Gardner Stone's family. this is the first time that we've gotten to talk about this stuff with the people that haven't gotten this opportunity to talk about what they've done and how they've springboarded our sport to where it is.
And
that's why it's needed.
And it's stuff that we should be talking about too. I mean, they've paved the way for us. Tony says, get Kent Payne. If you send me his number, I'll call him.
Might need to make a Anderson call.
Yeah. Oh, that's another one. Now that you say that for the dirt racing side, because he's got a guy we can call because you saw him run up there in Iowa. Number 32.
Smooth operator.
Yeah.
I got nothing else. If anybody else in the comments has got anything or anybody else watching.
Yeah, you guys make sure to support all of your media guys. I mean, there was a whole bunch of us there at Litchfield. We're all going to be pushing content out. John Murray was there with Let's Grow Poland. Brian Lively was there. Adam Wilson was there. We were there. Brian Thurston was there. Bradley Sturgeon was there. Man, the media was out in full force at Litchfield, and it was awesome to see. And the people that came out to watch that show was absolutely cool to see too. So make sure you support your local organizations and local groups.
Support independent motorsports media, period. End of sentence.
Absolutely.
Other than that, I've got no other thoughts. Carl Smith is amazing. Tony Weber with him. Great. Yeah.
Tony's the key to Red Pro Stock winning a championship.
Tim King.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Thank you all so much for jumping in on this with us. We had a blast tonight. I kind of wish we could do these shows more often, but with the amount of time that elapses between, it kind of allows for more to happen than just going week to week. So everybody stay safe. Mind the farm equipment that is on the roads. Everybody going between everywhere too.
Yeah. So
make sure.
2 weeks from now, next show, be there.
Sacha. Right. We're going to Europe.
All right. That's all I got. So
yep. See you guys later.